Madam Speaker, to us, the Honourable Minister of Labour, Industrial Relations, Employment and Training, whether in regard to the construction site of the Côte Multi-Sports Complex, he will state, A, the circumstances surrounding the death of Mr. Ding Hong Wang, thereat indicating whether, 1, he was a holder of a valid work permit, and 2, the crane involved in the accident which led to the death thereof was duly certified, and B, whether the working and living conditions of the workforce thereat are such that they expose the workers to fatal accidents.
Madam Speaker, the project for the construction of a multi-purpose sport complex at Côte is a major infrastructural project consisting of an aquatic center, a multi-sport arena, a football stadium, and an athletic track. Construction started in May 2018, and presently there are around 1,170 foreign workers on site. Madam Speaker, I must inform the House that in accordance with the construction laws and international conditions of contract, once the site has been handed over to the contractor, the latter has the sole responsibility for those in his employment and must subscribe to an insurance policy to cover associated risks. The employer, among others, has the following duties: to provide and maintain a safe working environment, to provide and maintain any plant or system of work, to ensure that use, handling, storage, or transport of articles or substances is safe and without risk to health. Finally, to provide information, instruction, training, and supervision as necessary and ensure the safety and health at work of his employees. Foreign workers are authorized to take up paid employment in Mauritius either on the basis of a work permit or exemption granted under the Non-Citizen Employment Restriction Act, or on the basis of an occupational permit delivered by the Economic Development Board under the Immigration Act and in accordance with guidelines issued under the EDB Act 2017. The law also requires every employer having 500 or more but less than 2,000 employees at one and more places of work to employ at least one or more safety and health officers in full-time employment. In fact, one Mr. LP has been registered as full-time safety and health officer for that employer. Madam Speaker, in respect of Part A of the question, I am informed as follows. On 13th of June 2019, at about 1500 hours, a bundle of galvanized tubes measuring 6 meters in length was being transferred from Aquatic Center South to Aquatic Center North by means of a crane. The bundle was attached to the arm of a crane by means of 2 chains. Late Mr. Ding Hong Wang was involved in verifying tiles at the Warmer swimming pool when suddenly the bundle of the galvanized tubes got detached from the arm and fell on him. He died on spot. However, the exact reasons and circumstances can only be known once investigation and inquiries will be completed. Madam Speaker, this is indeed a very tragic incident, and it is very unfortunate that Mr. Ding Hong Wang lost his life in such circumstances. I wish to convey my sincere condolences to the family of late Mr. Ding Hong Wang on behalf of the government and myself. As regards to Part A, subsection 1, I am informed that on 16th of March 2019, China State Engineering Corporation Limited, Mauritius branch, made an application for a business visa for technical support in the name of Mr. Ding Huang Guan, who arrived in Mauritius on 16th of April 2019 on a business visa issued for technical support by the Passport and Immigration Office, which was valid for 30 days. The business visa had expired on 15th of May 2019. As such, Mr. Ding Hongguang had overstayed. Madam Speaker, as regard to part A2 of the question, I am informed that the crane involved in the accident was of make telescopic tower crane model QTP 300L7526 and had a valid report of examination which will expire on the 8th of November 2019. With regard to part B of the question, I wish to inform the House that since construction works have started in May 2018, 6 inspections have been carried out by the Occupational Health and Safety Unit of my ministry at regular intervals. Inspections are carried out in line with the Occupational Safety and Health Act 2005 and specific regulations falling under the Act, and appropriate recommendations to improve working conditions were issued to the employer. It was also observed that the employer had conducted a risk assessment on 30th of August 2018, which was reviewed on 3rd of April 2019. Contraventions were established on 16th of January 2019 for the following breach. Firstly, failing to provide a riving knife, which shall be behind an indirect line with the saw blade for the circular sewing machine bearing make and serial number in use at the construction site in breach of Regulation 16(1)B of the Occupational Safety and Health and Welfare Woodmaking Machine Regulation 1989. Secondly, failing to cause part of the saw blade of a circular sewing machine bearing number, make, serial number, which is above the machine table, to be guarded with a strong and easily adjustable guard in breach of Regulation 17(1) of the Occupational Safety and Health Welfare Woodmaking Machine Regulation 1989. The cases have been lodged at the Industrial Court on 17th of June 2019. As regards the living conditions of the workforce, China State Construction Engineering Corporation Limited was issued with 14 lodging accommodation permits after inspections of different accommodations on the 21st of August, 23rd of August, and 11th of October 2018, and after obtaining health and fire clearances from the Ministry of Health and Quality of Life and the Mauritius Fire and Rescue Services in respect of 14 buildings at Côte, Saint-Pierre, to lodge 932 guest workers as follows. The list is long. If you don't mind, I will table it. The lodging and accommodation are located around 1 kilometer away from the construction site. The 14 lodging accommodations were visited on 18th of June 2019 in company of officers from the Ministry of Health and Quality of Life, and the following observations were made. Poor standard of cleanliness inside the lodging accommodation and sanitary conveniences, overflow of sewer system leading to foul smell, insufficient number of wardrobe lockers for guest workers. Management has been requested to comply with the discrepancies noted, and another joint visit with officers of the Ministry of Health, Quality of Life will be carried out next week. During visit carried out on the 18th of June 2019, it was also observed that the company has made provision to lodge 165 Chinese guest workers in 4 buildings without holding a lodging and accommodation permit in respect of each building. Contraventions have been established for each building for breach of Regulation 6.1 of the Occupational Safety and Health Employees Lodging Accommodation Regulation 2011. According to our records, the China State Construction Engineering Corporation Limited had not provided proper lodging facilities to its workers for the Jinfei project. Legal action was initiated against the company and the company was fined. In view of recurrent breaches committed by the company, my ministry is closely monitoring the living and working conditions of the workers employed by the company. An investigation is also being carried out, and if findings reveals that there has been any breach of the relevant legislation, legal action will be initiated against the company.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Honourable Minister. Firstly, let me also offer my sincere condolences to the family, but also to the co-workers of Mr. Hong Weng. Madam Speaker, Mr. Hong Weng entered Mauritius illegally under a business visa. He has been employed illegally by the China State Engineering Company, illegally. I'd like to ask the Honourable Minister whether anyone has been arrested at the China State Engineering Company, and if so, why not? Because the case appears extremely clear that this person was working illegally for them in Mauritius.
Madam Speaker, actually under Section 3.1 of the Non-Citizen Employment Restriction Act, which provides as follows: subject to this act, a non-citizen shall not engage in any occupation in Mauritius for reward unless they enforce in relation to him a valid work permit. Further to that, there is a power to grant exemption under Section 7. Okay? And it applies to government projects. I understand in this particular case, the deceased was entitled to benefit from the exemption under the government project of Mauritius. He was granted a visa of 30 days when he was entitled to a visa of 90 days.
Okay, it's clear that his business visa did not entitle him to work. Anyway, it had expired. What exemption had you given to China State? Tell us, please, and can you table a copy of the exemption that you gave for that project?
The ministry did not give any exemption, but the law provides for they did not to ask for an exemption because it is a government project.
My point was it is illegal employment, and it's not now that you're going to give a clearance to something that happened illegally and someone has died. So please assume your responsibility, and it must be prosecuted, Madam Speaker. I'd like to ask the Honourable Minister, since he seemed to condone the illegal employment of people at China State, maybe Metro Express, whatever also, how many workers at China State Engineering are actually working without a valid work permit? Has he inquired since the death of that person?
Madam Speaker, first of all, with due respect to the leader of opposition, I've never stated that no action will be taken as regard to the overstay or illegal employment by the current employer. Actions, I reassure the leader of the opposition that actions will be taken against the company because past the 30 days after the expiry of the business visa, it is obvious that the worker was working illegally.
Mr. Speaker, so we look forward to some arrests being made in the next few days. Can I continue? How many people are in the same situation as this unfortunate gentleman working at the moment today or yesterday for this China State Engineering Corporation without a valid work permit, please?
Madam Speaker, regular visits are being carried out by the inspectorate unit of my ministry, and we are tracking down those who are working illegally in Mauritius. In any event, there have been cases reported to the police for missing expatriates. But in this particular case, we are monitoring the situation and we are constantly doing what can be done to trace out those people.
Speaker, is this seriously telling the House that one person died illegally working and his ministry has not inquired to see whether there are other cases, similar cases at that same company? Is that what you're saying to the House, Minister?
I'm not stating that we are sleeping on our laurels. We are doing what is required to trace those illegal workers, and like I said previously, everything will be done according to the legal provisions.
Okay, I'm incapable of finding out whether you're also incapable of telling us how many other people there are in the same case as this unfortunate gentleman. May I ask the Honourable Minister, the inquiry is complete, as you know. The police have left the site is reopened, the crane is working again, so please don't tell me that the inquiry is not complete. I'd like to ask the Honourable Minister, and I also know your people went there today, this morning. Let me ask the Honourable Minister whether it is not the case that these metal tubes were not securely fastened, obviously, were not securely fastened to the crane, and that is how it fell. So is that the case, that there has been human mistake and has had led to the death of this person?
Speaker, this is a matter for the inquiry to reveal whether this is open or not. Let the inquiry be completed and then we will know what actually happened on site.
Madam Speaker, the unfortunate issue is that this crane is operating. 1,000 or more people are working there as we speak. Therefore, it's not a question of waiting for the police inquiry, for the magistrate or whatever, for years and years. Action needs to be taken immediately, if I may say so. The question is obvious that there has been either lack of training or negligence on the part of some people there who may still be working on the site as we speak today. And therefore, I would expect the Honourable Minister to have taken action immediately following the accident, whether closing of the site, whether suspension of the people responsible, whether whatever action else was taken, it has to have immediate action. Because I don't want, even for the government, for there to be another accident at this site, and I'll come, because this is, to my information, the third death on this particular site. When are you going to take action?
We will closely monitor the situation. I can assure you this.
Speaker, I come to this now. This is the third death, fatal accident on that site. Bangladeshi, some time ago, I think May last year. Chinese person in September, and now today. This is the third fatal accident there. Isn't that clear that there is something horribly going wrong at the construction site?
Madam Speaker, the other three fatal accident mentioned by the Honourable Leader of Opposition has got nothing to do, they are from different circumstances, nothing to do with this particular circumstances.
Madam Speaker, it seems to be there four now, one another three. Does it not think it is all to do with the very long working hours, very bad working conditions, illegal practice which has caused the company to be fined, all this together also due, and principally due, to the enormous amount of pressure that is being put on China State Engineering to complete the works for this opening in a few weeks' time of Jeu des Îles?
Madam Speaker, I do not find any correlation between the living conditions and the working conditions. The working conditions and the living conditions are two distinct things, and we should put things in its right perspective.
It cannot be, Madam Speaker, if the persons are working in unsafe conditions and living in something equivalent to a pigsty. Madam Speaker, both will affect their ability to concentrate on the work. And therefore, I'm going to ask the Honourable Minister whether he has taken note of an article in L'Express a few days ago of the horrible, horrendous living conditions of these persons, And I would wonder, and obviously you've had an inspection, I think yesterday you said 18th of June, and how come the ministry, with such a big construction site, had to wait for a death and had to wait for the horrible article in l'Express to act and to issue warnings and etc.? How is it that all these inspectors are working and nobody, is it complaisance? Is it conflict of interest? Is it corruption? What is it? That is the fact that your inspectors, when they have gone there, have not found anything wrong.
Madam Speaker, I need to clarify one thing. We have thousands of construction sites all across the island. And we have a limited number of inspectors going to inspect those sites. It is obvious that we will not be able to secure all the sites. And for this particular site, we have carried out 6 inspections, 3 this year itself, and we have drawn contraventions for breach of different sections of the OSHA.
Therefore, I'd like to ask the Minister, what conclusion does it draw from the fact that improvements have not been made? I will table a copy of this picture taken by l'Express, Madam Speaker, clearly fecal matter near to the dormitory. This is not acceptable in Mauritius 2019, Madam Speaker. What conclusion, what is he going to do about it? Are we going to continue in this system?
Speaker, in my reply, I stated that the notice have been issued to the employer, and in case of non-compliance, prosecution will be initiated for the matter being referred to by the Honorable Leader of the Opposition. I've mentioned it in my reply.
There have been 3 or 4 deaths already. How many deaths are required before the Honourable Minister can issue and revoke the lodging permit and put a stop order on that construction site, notwithstanding the fact that it will not be open? It is not worth lives of people just to be able to open on the 19th of July. Why don't you issue a immediate stop order on the construction and close down these lodgings which are unfit for human consumption, for human habitation, so that in fact we can actually have some decent conditions and safe conditions for over 1,000 workers working there, who are our guests in this country.
I again repeat, Madam Speaker, management has been requested to comply with the dispensaries noted, and another joint visit is scheduled together with the Ministry of Health next week. As regard, I'm coming back to the previous question, Madam Speaker. I would like to inform the House that the total number of visits carried out by the inspectors of my ministry amounts to 1,417 from January 2018 to May 2019, despite the limited number of officers I have. And we have also investigated complaints, 40, and issued 62 prohibition orders and established 67 contraventions altogether.
Madam Speaker, I'd like to ask the Honourable Minister whether it's not time to start actions for criminal negligence against these persons, and also ask the Minister whether it is not time to substantially increase, I think it's called the Special Migrant Unit at your ministry. We have been criticized by the UN, by the US, for many, many years back because of our failure to properly provide for the safety and comfort and living conditions of foreign workers here.
Well, this is the case, Madam Speaker. We have requested the Minister of the Ministry of Finance to provide us with more officers, and I'm glad to announce that in this budget, provisions have been made for more officers to be attached at the department. But still we need to do more. But we are working in close collaboration because the issue of lodging and accommodation permit does not just concern my ministry. It concerns the Ministry of Health, the Fire and Rescue Services as well. And we are working, although, listen to this, although with the limited number of officers, together with the Ministry of Health, we are being able to tackle, to go on site and to do proper investigation, proper inspection where it requires.
Honorable Leader of Opposition, you have 6 minutes left.
6 minutes.
And it's up to you to decide whether you want to give the floor to others.
Thank you. I will try to, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, recently the Prime Minister, during the Eid gathering, had raised the issue nicely about the issue of foreign workers working. I was told, in fact, no, the government had taken all the necessary provisions. And now the Honourable Minister is telling us he doesn't have enough people. The laws do not allow him, apparently, to take action. And the situation is worse than before. So what I'm going to ask, I'm not doing politics with this. People are dying, people are suffering on Mauritian soil. I'm asking the Honourable Minister what concretely is he going to do so that as from tomorrow, maltraitance of the foreign workers in Mauritius stops in Mauritius, and we put a full stop to this.
For personal explanation, on that very day, I didn't say that government had taken all the necessary precautions. I hope the Honourable Leader of the Opposition will correct. I stated in reply, in fact, to his intervention, that a number of improvements have been made, namely the minimum wage and so on. This is what I stated. I hope, honestly, Leader of the Opposition, you will acknowledge that.
This is what is reported to have said, Madam Speaker. À notre arrivée au pouvoir, nous avons introduit des normes. Obviously, introduire des normes et appliquer des normes, we find it is not the same thing. Now, I think we can agree. Madam Speaker, therefore, let me continue with my questions. Madam Speaker, I've given way once.
Madam Speaker,
Okay. But you will deduct it, not deduct it from my time, please.
yes, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition was there, present himself, and he's quoting from newspaper what is reported. I mean, you have to be serious.
Okay.
This time, but I'm not supporting. Not like Madam Speaker.
But Honourable
I
Leader
will
of Opposition, then do you agree with what the Honourable Prime Minister? Then we'll have to check and then...
Please check.
Okay.
Please check. It's my pleasure that you check. Madam Speaker, I'm not saying this. I'm just saying that we should not be complacent. That's all. I'm not saying that we should not be complacent. Introduire des normes et appliquer des normes, two totally different things, Mr. Prime Minister. Madam Speaker, let me continue. Therefore, all I'm asking here again, what are we going to do as from tomorrow? Because I do not want to see in the papers another article saying how inhumanly we are treating foreign guests in this country. Now, what is the commitment, whether it is doubling, trebling the number of people at the Special Migrants Unit, I don't care. What is the immediate steps and strong steps that the Minister will take, please?
Madam Speaker, since I've been appointed Minister, and since this government is in place, we have done considerable progress on the issue of health and safety of the workers, foreign workers working in this country. In 2016, Madam Speaker, we took the initiative of setting up a full-fledged construction unit and a lodging accommodation unit. And also, I have, you know, the issue of fatal accident. It's not an issue which is here yesterday. It was there when the Labour Party and the PMSD was in government as well. unfortunately, I don't have the figures with me.
Order, please.
Madam Speaker,
Honorable Jagru, please. Yes, Honorable.
yes. Like I said, the issue of fatal accident, it's a mishap, it happens. You cannot, to correct the Honorable Leader of the Opposition, Madam Speaker, at no point in time I mentioned that the law does not permit my ministry to take action against defaulters of the OSHA.
Yes, Honorable Shakil Mohammed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just a little question to the Honourable Minister of Labour. The crane operator that was operating the crane, have your officers found out whether this crane operator was licensed to operate? And if he was so licensed, when was the license issued to him and by whom?
Fortunately, I don't have the information at hand now, but there is an inquiry going on. I'm sure that the police will inquire in this aspect, on this aspect.
Honorable Amos.
Thank you, Madam. Regarding the regular site visit that your officer do on site, what is the rationale between the number of visits and the number of workers that are on site? We all understand now that thousands of workers, and at what regular interval do your officer go there, or it's just...
I have just mentioned the number of visits carried out for this year, from January 2018 to May 2019, 1,417 visits.
Yes, Honorable Leader of Opposition, last question.
Madam Speaker, all through this PNQ, we have heard the Minister saying that he has done this and that and the other, but to no real effect. If you are serious and genuine about it, you will see that the situation there is dangerous and the living conditions are terrible. What I will ask the Honourable Minister, there has also been a death, I think, at Metro Express side. I would like to ask the Honourable Minister to take this whole thing very seriously, to ensure that he has enough resources from the Ministry of Finance in terms of human resources and financial resources, and that the law is toughened substantially, and that this unfortunate death becomes the last death on the construction site in our country.
We are, Madam Speaker, at the Ministry taking the issue of fatal accident very seriously, and we are doing our utmost best to address the issue. Inspections are being carried out on a regular basis, and let me reassure the Leader of the Opposition that any company who breaches any provision of the OSHA will be prosecuted.